Good morning, everyone. Excited to be here. Thank you, Pini. So in the next 45 minutes, I'm going to talk a lot about positionless marketing, AI agents, and some references that Pini also mentioned. Let's get started. Agents are everywhere, right? Everyone these days are talking about agents, agentic platforms, Claude Code. And if you don't have an army of agents working for you while you're asleep, then you're falling behind. All this FOMO coming from LinkedIn and Twitter. In our world, that question becomes how agentic AI can allow you to do anything and be everything, how it can make you positionless. And don't worry, I'm going to talk a lot about AI agents and agentic platforms, and I'm going to show you how Optimove is evolving to be an agentic marketing platform. But before I do that, I want to talk about a different type of agents, human agents, or more specifically, the customer experience of interacting with human agents. So 2.5 years ago, like Pini moved in 2016 to New York, I moved 2.5 years ago to New York. And I heard this sentence more times than I could think of in my first few weeks. I wanted to open a bank account, but I needed a home address in order to open a bank account, but I couldn't rent a house without a bank account. I wanted to get auto insurance because I wanted to lease a car, and I couldn't get insurance because I don't have insurance history in the US. Every interaction followed the same pattern. The agent asked me a question, I answered an answer that doesn't really fit what you was expecting. Do you have a social security number? Well, I just moved, so I'll probably have in a month. So no. Right, no. So, okay, do you have a New Jersey's driver's license? Well, I have an international license. I need to take my knowledge test next month. So no. Okay, do you have insurance history? Well, I have 30 years of history from Israel. Do you have local insurance history? I'm saying, no. Well, then I have to decline your application. Like, what do you mean you have to decline my application? And he's like, sir, I understand your frustration. So the pattern was, if I didn't fit the decision tree, the system ran out of options. And it was a bad experience, not because the agent was rude. He was actually trying to be helpful. Even though I asked him to stop saying he understands my frustration because it only frustrates him more. And his reply was, yes, I can see how this could be frustrating. Anyway, it was a bad experience because the system was too rigid. Rule-based systems are optimized for common cases. They work when reality fits a clear decision tree. But when reality falls outside of this tree, the system runs out of options. Now, Pini talked about scale and scale in America. Let's put this in perspective. As an Israeli, it's really hard to grasp. There are over 200 million insurance applications, auto insurance applications, every year in the US. But people in my situation, established adults in the US, but with zero history, zero record, no driver's license, no credit history, no nothing, is 200,000 a year. So all kinds of visa knowledge workers migrating into the US. In other words, for every 1,000 applications the system sees, maybe one looks like me. So the system rejected me because it didn't know how to distinguish between me and a suspicious customer. It just didn't have enough rules. And why would it? It's only 0.1% of the use cases. And when you scale to the size of the US, maybe you don't have to cater for the 0.1% of the use cases because you have to cater for 350 million people. We don't have that problem in Israel. We can do everything. We can scale for everything. Anyway, now think about this not from the perspective of me as a customer, which was obviously frustrating. Think about it from the perspective of the insurance company. I'm 45 years old. I have a good job at a tech company. My wife is an accountant. We live in a nice and not cheap neighborhood. And within a year, we'll probably buy a house, so we'll need homeowner insurance. We'll probably buy or lease a second car, so we'll need another insurance. And I have 3 kids. and soon enough, one of them will be old enough to have a new driver's insurance. So, in other words, we are exactly the kind of high-value customers these companies are looking for. Declining us because we don't fit a rigid rule set is not just a bad customer experience, it's a bad business decision. Now, at the same time, this company is spending millions on advertising, including Super Bowl ads, trying to acquire customers exactly like us. Why is this happening? Now, you may argue, like I said, that the incremental value of catering for my unique situation is not worth the hassle, adding the rules and training the agents on how to respond to people with this weird situation. But what if there are other unique customer segments like this? Maybe there are a few of those, a few 0.1% of audiences with unique situations. Each additional unique customer segment adds value, and that value compounds. Now, today, AI promises something very different. Instead of rigid decision trees, systems can evaluate context, predict outcomes, reason about situations. So imagine the same insurance application again. The traditional systems see missing fields and declines, but an AI system understands a broader context and can make a better decision. Now, if we're honest, marketing these days and marketing teams are still running rule-based systems. In marketing, we just call them journeys, which is great, but as customer base grows, these journeys become more complex. The real pain doesn't start when you introduce your first use case, right? It starts when you try to launch the next creative idea. You want to introduce a new lifecycle journey, a new promotion, a new cross-sell initiative. You're trying to become more personalized, to cater for more moments, which is good. Suddenly, creativity turns into a chore. You have to go back to your engineering team and revisit all of your audiences and add rules to create mutually exclusive audiences to avoid double targeting. You have to go back to all of your existing journeys and add split conditions and exit criteria so people are not getting conflicting offers. Every new idea requires retrofitting the entire system. Over time, what started as promising automation becomes automations from hell. And you stop innovating because the assembly line that served you really well when you had just a few journeys and helped you create quality outputs is now limiting your ability to progress. You cannot go back to all of these existing stuff and wait for engineering to fix all your audiences and waiting for your analysts to redo all of the A/B tests. Just never happens. So it kills your creativity. At Optimove, we're always about freeing marketers from that burden, about making you positionless. We gave you the data power so you can move beyond audience gymnastics and build dynamic segments that update with customer data and provide you insights into how your customers behave. And you don't have to wait for BI teams to do that. You can do it on your own. Instead of forcing you to manually reconcile overlap, we build priority and exclusion framework that resolve conflicts automatically and prevent chaos. So we gave you the optimization power to scale your journeys and without building unmanageable journeys. And it proved itself. Today, Optimove clients, you orchestrate on average 300 campaigns every week across more than 5 channels. Some of you in this audience are doing much more than that, thousands of campaigns every week with 5, 10, 15, and sometimes 20 channels. But even after solving journey orchestration, still one constraint remained: content. Creating enough high-quality, on-brand content variations to hydrate all of those audiences and journeys and experiences that you can now scale. It was still very much difficult and took a long time. And that was the last operational bottleneck. Now, Pindy talked about Will Smith. I don't know if you know this one, the Will Smith test. Today, generative AI has largely removed that content bottleneck. You can generate dozens of content pieces very quickly, and AI tools are getting better and better in creating and manipulating images. So just 3 years ago, when you asked Will Smith eating spaghetti, you got this weird thing on the left. But 2 months ago, you can get an entire video of Will Smith cutting a salad and preparing spaghetti and eating it, and it looks completely real. So you don't have to organize photo shoots anymore just to show the same product on different backgrounds or text overlays. You can do it on your own as a marketer. But as we scale content generation, new challenge emerged. How do we verify high quality if we're generating so many different variations? How can we make sure that they're on brand? How can we make sure that they meet our brand guidelines, our compliance rules, that they render well across all devices, that they look good on dark mode and light mode, that they match the subject line, match the image, and vice versa? And second, if we can generate all these variations, how can we make sure that every customer gets the variation most appropriate for them? So scaling content personalization involves a new cycle of creation, assurance, and decisioning. Let's look at creation. Over the past few years, we have invested a lot into our native channels: email, SMS, mobile, embedded messaging, web personalization, not just to make them best of breed, each one individually, but to enable true symmetric messaging across all of your marketing channels. One of the new powerful innovations we just recently launched is liquid code and data connections. Currently available in beta, they give you the ability to build fully dynamic templates and fetch content from any external source. Our beta clients are now able to use simple liquid tags to create a single template that automatically transforms itself with catalog items, local promotion details, content from your website or your app, from your CMS, promotion terms and conditions, all at a fraction of the effort it used to take before, and without having to depend on any engineering team, just on your own. And this new capability provides the basis for scaling content personalization. Which brings me to AI template creation. Now, you can describe the template you wish to create using your own words, and Optimove AI will generate it. Don't worry about generating templates out of thin air. It uses your existing content and your existing templates that you've already used in your campaigns to make sure they're useful rather than just a cool demoware. You can then take the generated templates and continue editing them with our HTML editor or visual editor, just as you would for every other template for a seamless content creation experience. Ideas to execution just turned much faster without waiting for developers to code HTML. Cool, right? This is the time, this is the applause, this is the clapping time. Okay, yeah, okay. Thank you. Let's make a deal. Let's make it, every time you see this little emoji there, it's your cue to clap, all right? Right. I'll show you a demo of everything in a moment, so bear with me here. Now, I've been working with you and your organizations for quite a few years now, and one of the feelings I keep hearing about and I keep sensing from you is the feeling of anxiety. Nobody wants to send that apology email to all of their database. So messages need to go through extensive QA, validation, and you lose a lot of time just testing and approving. Think about how much percentage of your time as a marketer goes into making sure that your emails look good and that you send tests to yourself and all the links are working well and all the images are rendering well and the promotions are valid. How much time do you spend there? Now, as long as you had a limited number of content variations, maybe it was bearable, maybe. But as you scale content creation with AI and with the tools that I just mentioned before, now you have dozens or hundreds of variations. How would you test all of them? Repeatedly testing each and every one of them is exactly the kind of work that marketers or humans hate to do. And it's huge time drain. And it's exactly the type of work that AI agent can do really, really well. So this is why today we're announcing 3 new solutions to become available later this year. The first, brand guidelines. All right, there you go. Yeah, good job. Like good AI agent, you follow instructions. So brand guidelines allow you to define your brand values, your style, your visual identity, your compliance rules, and more. And they inform both content creation as well as evaluation. So when you generate templates from prompts, like I showed you just a moment ago, they are created based on these guidelines. Again, making sure that you're not just creating something for demos, you're creating something that's really useful and that your creative and design team will actually approve. Second, the content advisor agent. Oh, look at that. Nice. The content advisor agent automatically scores each of your messages according to your brand guidelines, gives you a score, and gives you quick recommendations of how to make adjustments and fixes to increase your score, to make your brand more, make your template more on brand. So one click, you implement those suggestions. Now, some may ask, if we had AI generate a template based on brand guidelines, why do we need another AI to score our template? Why is it not 100%? I don't know if many of you thought about that, but maybe some. The answer is, same as in software development. You have an agent that writes code and a different agent that does code reviews. Slightly different skill set. Like you do with ChatGPT, and you ask Gemini what ChatGPT did, and it gives you comments. And then you ask ChatGPT again, and say, yeah, of course. Of course. Anyway, the third is an agentic QA center. This is where you save all your time, right? It will automatically run a lot of different QA tests on all of your message variations to make sure that the deep links are working, the images are rendering, all of the offers are valid, all the liquid personalization tags are intact, and more. And only surface the message variants that require human attention out of all the dozens or hundreds that may pass all the tests, freeing you from that burden while reducing anxiety. And together, these 3 tools ensure that as we scale creativity, quality scales with it. So, now that we've created multiple on-brand, validated content variations, now is the time to make sure that every customer receives the right one for them. So today, we're announcing Content Decisioning Agent. Using a simple liquid tag in a single template, you can create and define multiple variations, subject lines, preview text, images, body copy, call to actions, and not just in emails, across all channels. And Optimove AI will evaluate which variation works really well for which customer and optimize in real time. So as you send a campaign, the system will automatically make sure that every customer is getting the variation that makes more sense to them and learn from that. So when the next customer is getting a message, they get the right one for them. And over time, it will learn and learn from one campaign to another until eventually you create dozens of variations and the system deploys the best one for each customer. Now, the cycle is complete. Creation requires assurance. Assurance can now be automated. And decisioning unlocks more creation, because when you can make sure that every customer gets an on-brand quality variation, you can create more variations and scale your personalization and become more thoughtful and more precise and more personalized. Now, in addition to improving customer experience, scaling personalization or scaling personalized content also creates a lot of new context. Sorry, that breaks my teeth a little bit. More context. Why? Because for decades, marketing systems, Optimove included, knew that version A performed better than version B. But we didn't know what A or B were. We didn't understand why they performed better. Was it the content? Was it the images? Was it the tone of voice? Was it the call to action? What was the reason that B beats A or A beats B? We didn't know. But today, we introduce the Content Intelligence Agent. Still no emoji yet, so wait. Now, for the first time, Optimove can understand the content it is sending. The Content Intelligence Agent scans all of your outgoing messages and tags and classifies every piece of content in your templates. The images, the type of images, the types of promotions, the level of generosity, the tone of voice, the style, the intent. And this adds an entirely new layer of this adds an entirely new layer of context to the system. You can now gain insight into how your content performs, how frequently you use different types of content, and how they perform with different customers. The report shows you an analysis of the product category you feature in your messages, the offer type, the tone of voice. You can then know if some content types are using more, but they're performing not as well, or vice versa. And you can gain these insights across dozens of industry-specific content types. Now, because we know what content was used in each campaign, and we know which customers were targeted in each campaign, and how they responded, we can understand each customer's individual content preferences, show them in the Customer 360 page, use them as segmentation criteria. So in this example, you see two different customer IDs with very different content preferences. By the way, all of the videos that I'm showing here are real demos from the system. They're not mock-ups. So just figured I won't do live demos on stage because that becomes hard. Maybe next year I'll be more positionless and I'll speak while I demo. So I just recorded them literally last night. Anyway, so that's that. Now, I covered quite a lot about content personalization tools. Let me show you how they all come together. Let's imagine I'm building a segment, I'm building a target group for an upcoming campaign. I go to Customer Explorer, I see the content preferences of all these customers based on the content intelligence agents that I just mentioned. I then go to generate a new template. And I want to do a sports email for VIP high customers haven't been active for 1 or 2 weeks, focus on upcoming Premier League, and variate some offers and call to actions. Now, Optimove AI is now analyzing my prompt, planning the changes it needs to make from my baseline template, taking into consideration my brand guidelines, and eventually comes back with a new generated template. I then choose to continue editing this in my visual editor. And here you can see the liquid codes with all the message variations I asked it to make, the different offers type, the different call to actions. When I go to preview, I can see how this template varies between different customers. Here you can see one customer ID that has a specific subject line, a Liverpool versus Everton match with the matching image, and a deposit now call to action. And another customer ID will have a slightly different variation. Some other subject line, Tottenham versus Arsenal with a different image, and a slightly different call to action. Now, obviously, this is just an example, but you can do more of that and much more. And when I execute this campaign, I then go into mission control to open the metrics. And I can see a breakdown of how the different content variations evolved over time, how they evolved in real time. And the green bar there shows you the optimization benefit that you're getting from this real-time content decisioning agent in terms of opens, clicks, and other engagement signals. Is that cool? Yeah. All right. Now, let's discuss the ripple effect. If you're no longer constrained by your creative production capacity, you can now design more granular segments, more nuanced journeys, more micro moments across the lifecycle. But more audiences and more journeys and more moments make decisioning even more critical. Because otherwise we risk chaos. And not just content decisioning. True personalization requires 4 distinct decisions to make: audience, journey, offer, and content. So a customer can belong to multiple audiences. That customer can be eligible to multiple campaigns and journeys. Each campaign can include different offers. Each offer can be sent through different channels. And every message can be sent at a different time. And then every message can contain multiple content variations. Now, you could treat all of these decisions as one huge pile of options and then just choose the best option. But that would ignore how decisions actually work. Because each decision needs to add context for the following decision. When you decide which audience to target, you define the context for the journey or campaign selection. When you select which journey or campaign to send to this customer, you define the context for the offer, the channel, and the timing of that message. And when you decide the offer, the timing, and channel, you define the context for the content. Oh, I nailed it. So take a simple example. Let's say you have a cross-sell campaign and a churn prevention campaign, both offering the same 10% discount. On its surface, it's the same offer. But the context matters. In a churn moment, you may be optimizing for preserving, protecting long-term value, and you don't care about margins too much. But when you speak to an existing customer in a cross-sell campaign, you might not want to offer too deep of a discount because you want to protect your margins. So now the context for that offer decisioning is very much different. That's why we separate decisioning into layers. Now, let's dive into each of them. Let's start with audience. At Optimove, we've always believed in starting with the customer, which is why we are ingesting 8.4 billion rows of data every day, and why we continue to invest in self-serve and data ingestion and more options to integrate with your data sources, including zero copy. Now, you've used these data across different ways to build audiences. You used Customer Explorer to build audiences with multiple segments. Do you hear me? Okay. You used our predictive models and AI insights to zero in on underserved or overserved customer segments. And AI audience decisioning, previously called target group discovery, took this a step further. It allowed you, it had one job. The agent wanted to use the likelihood to make a transaction and find the customers most or least likely to make a transaction in the following weeks. So you can zero in on the right segment and inform your promotional strategy without having to wait for an army of data science teams to make it for you. Now, we still believe that strong personalization begins with understanding the customer. But we also recognize that sometimes the starting point is not a customer insight. Sometimes it's a business priority, a seasonal campaign, a new collection launch, a strategic push for a specific category, inventory that needs attention. In those cases, the question is slightly different. It's not just which customers are high value, but which customers are most likely to be interested in a specific product. So today we're expanding AI audience decisioning to support that. You can now select an item or a category from your catalog directly, and Optimove AI will identify the customers most likely to be interested in it based on the same Optimove Personalize, formerly known as OptiX, AI models that power our real-time recommendations. You can then control the size of the audience. The smaller the group, the more focused it becomes on customers with the highest affinity. And because this audience behaves like any other target group in Optimove, you can add more segmentation criteria. Sorry. Now, what used to require a data science team can now be done directly by a positionless marketer in minutes. Now, as you can create more audiences like the ones we just saw, you naturally create more campaigns and more journeys. And that's a good thing, right? It means you're getting more creative and you're becoming more personalized and more thoughtful. The reality is that many of us don't do this enough, because this usually comes with a huge burden, as I mentioned before. As you add more campaigns and more journeys, customers become eligible to multiple campaigns at the same time. A customer might qualify for a seasonal campaign, a churn prevention, a cross-sell initiative, all in the same day. And we've already talked about what happens in traditional systems. Right? You start adding exclusions, split conditions, exit criteria. We don't want any of that. We want you to have the freedom to add more campaigns and more journeys without worrying about spamming or cross-firing. Which is why we built what we now call the AI journey decisioning agents. Many of you know it as self-optimizing journeys. And its job is simple. Release your creative freedom from the burden that used to go along with it. When a customer becomes eligible to multiple campaigns, the agent evaluates all the possible options and chooses the campaign that puts the customer on the path to maximize lifetime value. Now, offering this kind of air traffic control, we saved you countless of hours of having to manually create mutually exclusive rules. So you can embrace the overlap and focus more time on strategic and creative work instead of spending endless time in avoiding overlap. Now, this is not new. Many of our clients are already using it, and they see an average uplift of more than 19% in their customers' lifetime value. This alone is very significant, but today we're taking it further. Until now, journey decisioning was evaluated on a daily basis. But as we're now ingesting more real-time data than ever before, in fact, more than 2 billion real-time events every day, browsing signals, engagement signals, transactional updates. So today we're announcing that AI journey decisioning becomes real-time. A customer context changes throughout the day. Journey decisioning will become continuous. Let's take this example. A customer is eligible for a post-purchase, a risk of churn, and a birthday campaign. And let's say journey decisioning decided that the best campaign for this customer is the post-purchase one. Now, at some point during the day, this customer calls customer support and complains about the product that they just purchased or returned it. There's a new ticket created in the support system. The real-time signal arrives at Optimove and makes this customer eligible immediately for a bad experience campaign. Oh, sorry, you're having a bad experience, something along these lines. The journey decisioning agent reevaluates all of these options and changes its decision in real time to prioritize the bad experience campaign, so this customer won't receive the standard joyful message of the post-purchase journey. We've seen these situations before, right? As consumers, we're getting a, please post a review on our product, but I just returned it. So this won't happen anymore. Now, we're also announcing that journey decisioning is becoming content aware. A few minutes ago, I talked about content intelligence and how we tag all the different templates and understand customer affinities for content types. Now, journey decisioning can use this additional context to make a more informed decision. So, another example. Let's say this customer is eligible to a birthday campaign, a post-purchase, and a holiday promo. And if until today the agent would prioritize the holiday promo campaign, now we know what is the content that is being used in each of these campaigns. And we know the content preferences of these customers. And Journey Decisioning Agent can realize that the content birthday campaign better matches the preferences of this customer, and therefore prioritize it over the promo one. Now, once the right campaign is selected, we move to the next question. Given this campaign, how do we execute it? And there are 3 decisioning agents that help us answer this question. 2 of them are already live and available today. Offer Decisioning Agent, formerly known as Self-Optimized Campaigns. That ensures that every customer receives the best offer type and the level of generosity for them. Send Time Optimization ensures that communication goes at the time most likely for this customer to engage, based on their real behavioral patterns and signals. And we're currently working on a 3rd one, Channel Priority Agent. So instead of predefining which channel should lead, email, SMS, mobile, Optimove AI will evaluate which channel is most appropriate to that customer in that moment, based on both engagement patterns and cost, saving you time, effort, and enabling you to continue to roll out more and more personalized campaigns. Now, I want to focus for a moment about offer decisioning. Not every customer in a journey should receive the same incentive. Some require no incentive at all, some require a stronger push, and these decisions can change over time with seasonality, with changes in customer preferences, changes in your product catalog, campaign fatigue, and any number of reasons that it's hard for us to anticipate. And also, based on your business objectives and the context of that campaign. So the AI offer decisioning agent evaluates which offer type and level are expected to drive the best business outcome for the specific KPI of that campaign. As an example, if the context of this campaign is a cross-sell for active customers, as I mentioned before, you may be optimizing for profitability. So in that case, offer decisioning agent may try or will try to offer the least aggressive offer to every customer as long as they still engage, protecting your margins. But if the context is about reactivating lapsed customers, then this may be time for you to optimize for revenue, even at the cost of lower margins, because it's more important to reactivate these customers at this point than it is to protect your margins. And in that case, the offer decisioning agent will do a very different job. It will probably push for more aggressive offers to make sure that customers are reactivating and we're not losing some of them. So the context matters. And we have countless of examples and case studies of how many of you are using offer decisioning agent to gain massive, massive optimization benefits. On average, we see an almost 33% uplift in your business results for those campaigns. It could be 33% higher margins, it could be 30% higher gross revenue, whatever the KPI is. That's massive. Use it. It's a switch of a button. So now we have all the context that we need to personalize the last mile experience. What are the customers we're targeting? As part of which journey? All this context helps us decide how to express this moment to this specific customer and this individual using all the content personalization agents and capabilities I announced a few moments ago. The future of marketing is elevating your job as a marketer from creating, testing, and validating campaigns to managing a team of AI agents that are working with you and for you to allow you to cross position lines, execute with more agility, more agency, more independence, without compromising on quality and outcomes. Today I showed you multiple such agents: audience decisioning, journey decisioning, offer and timing optimization, and content decisioning. And we believe your job as a marketer to define the strategies, the objectives, and the guardrails for these agents to do their job. So today we're announcing AI Decisioning Studio. It's a new home for the Optimove decisioning or optimization power. This is where you can find all of your AI decisioning agents, understand their performance, define the strategies that control their behavior, and use them to optimize your existing customers and existing campaigns and journeys. Let me give you a short demo. When you navigate into AI Decisioning Studio, you immediately see all the decisioning agents that are active, how many campaigns they're active on, and the results that they are showing. You can then define your strategies that are tied to specific business KPIs. If you click into one of these strategies, let's say a cross-sell, you immediately get an optimization score. And when you look at the campaigns that are associated with this strategy, you can see which AI decisioning agents are active in which one and get a recommendation of how to improve. In this specific campaign, we get a suggestion to activate send time optimization. So now, with a click of a button or just a few words that you type, you can activate send time optimization. The system suggests the best option based on the original send time of the campaign, so you can make edits and just apply your selection. Just like that, with a quick chat, we now have an AI agent optimizing your campaign. In the same way, I can ask AI Decisioning Studio to activate more types of promos for offer decisioning to optimize. I can ask it to enable audience decisioning and journey decisioning to make sure that my campaigns are prioritized correctly and engage more and more optimization power. And all of this without having to stop your existing campaigns, go into Campaign Builder, edit them, make sure that the audience don't overlap, and make all these jumps through hoops just to make those optimizations. You do it from one centralized interface with a few simple words. Now, this is just the first place where you can interact with your agents. In the future, you'll be able to call them also from outside the Optimove interface using tools like Claude Code and other agentic platforms. Now, we can't wait for you to start using this and start optimizing your campaigns. We're excited to see what kind of use you make out of it. So please stay tuned for updates in the coming weeks as this rolls out. Now, let me say one last thing. None of this matters without rich data, because then AI cannot make meaningful decisions. And none of this matters if your attribution is too naive. Last click attribution, over-indexing on opens or clicks, or relying solely on promo redemption signals are all sure ways for AI to optimize for the wrong outcomes. We have built the industry's most complete AI decisioning solution because we have all the decisioning agents working as a coordinated team, providing context for one another. And because we feed them with rich historical data, real-time behavior signals, and advanced analytics. And because we measure the performance with statistically significant, multi-touch incremental attribution models. This may sound a bit complex. The reality is that under the hood, it really is. But as a marketer, you have access to all of this with a click of a button or with typing a few words. And all of this to ensure that you can be anything and do anything. Now, I began with a rigid decision tree, a system that could not adapt, a system that declined me because it did not understand context, reached the end of its script. Marketing doesn't have to operate like that. When a portfolio of CRM, real-time personalization, loyalty and gamification products meets audience decisioning, offer, channel, and timing decisioning, content intelligence, creation, and assurance that are all connected and grounded in rich data and attribution, friction disappears for both marketers and customers. AI should not apologize for frustration. It should remove it. And that is what the Optimove Agentic AI platform makes possible. Thank you.